Adventures in the Supernatural. The XYZ Company brings you a new series of programs, a series which we believe is just a bit different from anything you have ever heard over your radio. A scientific investigation of supernatural phenomena, adventures into that shadowy realm which lies beyond the horizon of proven knowledge. Conducting this series of investigations and acting as commentator is the eminent psychologist, Dr. Lionel Hirsch. I present him now, Dr. Hirsch.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I begin by explaining the position of the sponsor and my own position as regards this series of broadcasts. We are not out to prove or disprove anything. Our attitude is simply of scientific inquiry. To the question, are there such things as mental telepathy, spirits, premonitions? Our answer is, we do not know. However, events do occur, or are reported to have occurred, weird, mysterious happenings difficult to explain through the operation of known natural laws. In this series of programs, we plan to give you in dramatic form the story of some of these happenings, instances which have been reported to and investigated by established scientific organizations. In dramatizing these actual cases for radio presentation, it is sometimes necessary to make occasional trifling changes. For example, to fit into a half-hour's broadcast events which occurred over a longer period of time. But the basic facts are presented just as they were originally reported. At the close of the dramatization, we will bring to the microphone the person or persons to whom the events occurred, and will introduce such testimony as has a bearing on the case. The final decision, however, as to whether the case is or is not an example of the supernatural will be left to you. Thank you.
And so, based upon an original report, we present our first adventure in the supernatural. Our story begins in the library of an English country house. It is a pleasant room which looks out through a glass-paneled door onto the garden and a green velvety expanse of lawn, invisible now in the blackness of a hot, sultry August night. A night so black that the darkness seems to press like a tangible thing against the window panes. At a bridge table are the Major, his wife, his daughter, and son. Somewhere in the house, a clock strikes 11.
One spade.
2 hearts.
Well, Mildred?
Oh, is it my turn?
It certainly is.
I'm so sorry.
Well, what's the matter?
Well, nothing. I was just listening. How quiet everything is. Not even the sound of the frogs in the creek. It's as if the whole world had suddenly stopped and was waiting for something.
Are you going to finish this rubber?
Oh, yes, of course.
I said a spade.
You should keep your mind on the game.
And I said 2 hearts. You know, that is queer.
What's queer?
About the frogs. Ordinarily, they'd be croaking like good fellows. Have you noticed there aren't any beetles this evening, are there?
Beetles?
Bumbling against the windows. When the lights are on in here, there are usually dozens of them.
No doubt the heat has killed them. I've never seen it so close and stifling. I'm sure it's been hot enough to be the death of everything.
Yes, that's it. That's the feeling. The presence of death.
Uh-huh.
It came over me as I was returning from the tennis courts. It'd been glorious all afternoon until the sun went down. And then darkness came on so swiftly and everything was quiet and hushed. Not the drowsy quiet of evening, but a deathly stillness. It was like leaving a bright sunlit street and suddenly stepping into a darkened room where someone lay dead.
Oh, don't be morbid, Mildred.
That's the feeling. I can't shake it off.
Oh, rot.
It is oppressive, Charles.
We're going to have a storm, that's all. It's always this way before a storm. Now, I bid a spade and Ronnie here bid 2 hearts.
3 diamonds.
I pass, as usual. Haven't had a bit of luck all evening.
Well, I hope you know what you're doing, Mildred. Here's a nice run of clubs for you, too.
Oh, hold on. That's Mother's trick.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes, do watch the game, Mildred.
The roses in that bowl on the piano are quite wilted. You'd better tell Ellen to cut some fresh ones in the morning. She's getting careless.
Why, those were fresh this afternoon. I saw Ellen picking them in the garden.
They don't look it.
If you ask me, the whole garden looks a bit seedy, as if everything were dying. Oh, Miley,
Where is Ellen this evening, anyway?
I let her have the evening off. She has some cousins living near here. She wanted to call on them.
Yes, but it's after 11 o'clock. She should be back by this time.
I say, Mildred, will you please? Millie.
Mildred, what's the matter?
She's fainted.
Mildred, darling.
Here, take a swallow of water.
All right, Rodney.
Now, she'll be all right. Well, you feel better?
A little. Awfully stupid of me.
But, darling, what happened?
I don't know. Everything got dark, and then I heard the sound of hoofbeats and the rumble of a carriage. It kept coming closer and closer, and finally it swept past me. And through the carriage window, I saw a face, chalk white with staring eyes. Oh, it was horrible.
There, darling.
Too much tennis this afternoon in the hot sun. In India, I've seen things like this happen lots of times. Had a little touch of the sun myself once. Fancied I saw all sorts of weird things. One gets over it quickly now. There's nothing to worry about.
You feel better now, don't you?
Yes, quite all right. Only it did seem so real.
You'd better run along to your room and get some rest anyway.
And tomorrow we'll call in Dr. Thornton.
Oh, I'll be all right by tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
Good
dear.
night.
Good night.
And no more tennis for a few days, eh?
Do hope there's nothing really wrong.
Oh, I don't see that there's anything to be alarmed about. Mildred's always been a normal, healthy girl.
Maybe we'd better go back to town.
But let's wait and see what Dr. Thornton says, eh?
It's odd, though, it should happen tonight. What with all the other queer things. The frogs and beetles, the flowers suddenly wilting.
Oh, I say, don't be a blithering idiot.
Listen. Is that you, Ellen? Ellen?
Yes, Mum.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure it was you.
Yes, Mum, it's me. I'm sorry I'm so late getting back. We had an accident almost.
An accident?
Yes, sir. Jerry, that's my cousin, was driving me back in the motor. He chauffeurs for the Colberts, you know. And we was going along, taking it easy like and talking over old times, and then we hears the sound of horses and a coach coming up behind us.
A coach?
Yes, sir, a carriage. Traveling fast it was, too. It was on us almost before we knew it. Jerry just had time to pull to one side.
You mean a coach almost ran into your motor?
Yes, sir.
Oh, why?
Wait a moment. What kind of a coach was it, Ellen?
But I don't know, Mum. I didn't see it.
Didn't see it?
No, sir. What with it being excited like, it passed us and went tearing down the road
The
without...
coach almost ran into you, past you, and you didn't see it?
No, sir. All we heard was the sound. And that's the truth, sir. If you don't believe me, you can ask my cousin. But I've never lied to you in my life, and I'm not lying now. It's the truth, so help me.
We know you're not lying, Ellen. But what you heard was probably the wind.
There hasn't been a breath of air stirring since sundown.
It wasn't the wind. It was something terrible. Terrible.
Oh, now, Ellen, I'm sure it wasn't anything terrible. And anyway, it's all over now. There's nothing to cry about. You come along with me.
Yes,
Well, how do you explain that? I don't think Ellen was playing tennis in the sun this afternoon.
Oh, a lot of nonsense.
That's not an explanation.
Well, there isn't any explanation, except that she imagined it. A coach. Nobody rides in coaches anymore. She'd have been just as reasonable if she said she'd encountered a knight in armor.
And I suppose the fact that Mildred spoke of a coach when she fainted...
What are you
was just-
driving at? I'm going to bed, sitting around here talking a lot of nonsense. Hello, thunder. Told you it was going to storm. I think I'll go out and have a look at the weather. I say, Ronald, come out here.
Yes? What is it?
You know, I believe that is a coach. Who in the name of common sense would be driving a coach around the country at this time of night?
Listen. Sounds as if it's coming this way, too. No question about it. It is coming this way. It must be at the turn in the road.
By Jove, then it's coming here. There aren't any other houses this side of the turn. Must be driving without lights. I can't see a thing.
I can. There.
Oh, right.
And they're turning in.
Great Scott, they're running right over the lawn and through the garden. He'll ruin it. Here, I say, hold on there.
Good Lord, they're headed directly for the creek. They'll never see it without lights. They'll go over the bank.
Stop! Stop, there's a creek down there with a steep bank.
They can't stop at that clip. They'll go over the bank even if they do see it.
Go in the house and get a lantern. Hurry.
Charles, what is it?
Carriage. Turned off the road and headed for the creek. Slashed right across the lawn and the garden.
Well, the horses must have run away. There's probably no one in the
There
carriage.
were two men on the driver's seat. I saw that much.
What happened? I thought I heard
Nothing's happened. Go back to your room.
Just a carriage that got off the road, dear.
a carriage.
Yes, they must have lost their way.
And very old carriage with a faded crest on it and two coachmen in livery.
Eh? You saw it?
No, but I knew it would come.
Here's the lantern. I had a time finding it.
Now be careful, Charles. You don't know what
I'll be careful. Take Mildred inside. Give me the lantern, Ron. Come along. Hello? Hello there. I say hello. There doesn't seem to be anyone about.
Here they are, over here.
Huh?
They pulled up and swung around just in time, too. If it wasn't, they'd have been over the edge of the bank and into the creek.
Yes, but where is the coachman? Hello?
I don't see how these horses could have run that fast. They're positively skeletons. And the coach looks like something out of a museum. I wonder it didn't fall apart.
I can't understand what became of the coachman. I say there.
Dead. I think there's someone inside the coach.
Well, wait a moment. Stay here. Anyone in there?
Why don't you open the door?
Oh, I beg your pardon, madam.
Oh, Dad, here's the coachman. Oh, wait a moment, you fellows. What are you doing here?
Ask her.
Come down off that coach, I tell you. You're trespassing. We want to talk with you. I say we want to talk with you.
Get up.
Here, wait a moment.
They won't stop.
I didn't see them till they were climbing up on the coach. I don't know where they could have come from.
That's not the only curious thing. There's a woman in that coach, and she was dead.
Again, the scene is the library, the time the following morning. The garden doors are open and sunlight streams into the room. In the garden, birds sing. The Major and Dr. Thornton are standing in the doorway.
Sorry to bring you out here on a wild goose chase, Doctor. I didn't imagine there was anything really the matter with Mildred. Still, you know...
Nothing to worry about at all. Mildred's in perfect health. If everyone in the village were as healthy as she is, I'd have to give up my practice.
Oh, what do you suppose made her faint?
Oh, any number of things. The heat, perhaps. A little touch of indigestion. She's never been subject to fainting spells, has she?
No.
Some little temporary condition, that's all.
I don't know whether she mentioned it to you or not, but for a moment after she came to, she talked rather incoherently. She seemed to have the impression that she'd seen a coach. A rather queer coach.
Nothing especially unusual about that. Happens lots of times. Ever see a patient come out from under an anesthetic? Same thing. Simply a dream.
Only this one persisted. We had a bit of a time convincing her that she hadn't seen it.
Well, the human mind's a peculiar mechanism. We don't know very much about it. I don't suppose there are any of us who can tell exactly where dreams leave off and reality begins. We all carry around a certain number of delusions.
Yes, I understand there's no one quite sane. Not so sure about myself. But I wonder. Suppose a person's mind were a mechanism so finely tuned that it could record a happening long before the less sensitive minds recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
Or haven't you ever heard of dreams coming true?
Only in romantic novels. Well, I still have 2 more calls to make. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Oh, what about golf tomorrow?
Oh, yes, right. Come in. Yes, Ellen?
The inspector is here again, sir.
Oh, yes.
And I picked some fresh roses. They look much better today, sir.
Yes, don't they?
I'll put them here in the bowl. I think they're as pretty as we've had this summer.
They are pretty. Oh, show the inspector in.
Yes, sir.
Oh, come in, Inspector. Sit down, won't you?
Thank you. I'd dislike to be bothering you again, but since I talked to you last night, well, there are several little details that need clearing up.
No bother at all.
Now, in the first place, are you sure that woman in the carriage was dead? Sure she hadn't merely fainted?
Inspector, I've served in the army for a long time. I've seen death too often not to recognize it. The woman was dead.
And these 2 coachmen, what did they look like?
Well, as I told you, I got only a glimpse of them. Besides, it was quite dark. Oh, yes, one thing I did notice. They wore livery.
Livery?
Yes. The coach had a crest on it, a coat of arms. As my son said, it looked as if it might have come out of a museum.
Your son saw all this, too?
Yes, and so did my wife and daughter.
At least they saw the coach pass the house again as it returned from the creek and swung back onto the road.
You know, Major,